Yes, hey guys, welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Lucas versus Lopez fight. And so if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Lucas is 10-1 with 5 KOs and Lopez is 21-2-1 with 1 KO. This fight is for the vacant IBO World Super Flyweight title. Lucas's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Yesti, and Lopez's fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Orechia over a year ago. Lucas's loss came by majority decision versus Asensio in 2013, and Lopez's losses have come versus Forsland in 2023 via TKO and DeMarco in 2022. Lucas is 5'5.5" and Lopez is 5'1.5". And to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, like I mentioned, this IBO title on the line. It's a belt in which has been vacant. It's a belt in which I followed around a little bit. I mean, I did a prediction last time it was fought for, but it was fought Taylor Robertson versus Gallardo fought for it, and then they drew. So obviously, I don't know, it just kind of went vacant. Nobody really wanted to contest for it. I mean, Taylor Robertson hasn't fought since. Gallardo has fought once since, I believe. So it's just kind of been moved on, been made vacant, and now we have this as a fight for it, which, to be honest, I think is a good fight. I think it's a good matchup. It's out in Thailand, where Lucas has been doing a lot of her development and a lot of her work. I believe she is, of course, from Kazakhstan. She also had a bit of time fighting out in Turkey as well, from what it seems. Well, that's where she suffered her only defeat, and then also, as of recent, she's been out in Thailand and been getting nice, pretty comfortable wins out there. And Lopez is a very tough opponent, and I believe it will be a tough test for Lucas, who hasn't really been tested too much so far. Obviously, she has the defeat on her record, but Lopez is somebody who has, of course, that much higher experience levels than that of Lucas, and also has only ever lost in world title fights, being, like I say, that of Forza and that of DeMarco. Obviously, against Forza, it wasn't a good defeat for her. I mean, no defeats are ever good, but it was a very bad defeat realistically for her. Of course, getting stopped is never really something you want to be seeing. Obviously, Forza is a quality operator, but nonetheless, it's still not really what you wanting to see. And obviously, she's also had a year out. She's not really fought that consistently. I mean, she obviously had that year out and had a win in her last performance, but she had the two defeats back to back before that, and then she had a win, and then you were thinking perhaps possibly she was going to want to create a bit of momentum for herself and get back in with it again, but then she kind of just went away and just didn't really fancy fighting, I suppose. But now she's back, and like I say, it's a good tough test. I respect her for taking Lucas as an opponent. It's going to be a tough fight where, of course, Lucas most likely is going to be the favourite and is going to be expected to win, but nonetheless, like I say, it's a good contest. And of course, like I've also mentioned, there is that clear height difference. Lopez is very used to being the shorter fighter. She is consistently the smaller fighter, even in every weight division she's fought in, she's been the smaller fighter, and now it's no different. There is a clear height difference, but Lucas is somebody who is able to really impose herself physically and put a size upon you, but Lopez is somebody who has got good defensive movement and will be on the back foot, so perhaps it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I think stylistically it is going to make for an interesting matchup. But to speak about them both individually as fighters, Lucas is a come forward pressure type fighter and is pretty much just gonna consistently put on pressure. She has got a good work rate and she will let her hands go, push you onto the ropes, and then be able to, punish you, let her hands go, really kind of do her best work when she is on the front foot. And she can fight at a mid or in close range. I believe she imposes herself. Like I say, she changes levels nicely as well. I think she can duck a nice jab in, or distribute some nice body shots in a collection of punches. It's nice to see her changing levels. I believe Lopez changes levels as well, but isn't throwing quite as much as that of Lucas, and also is kind of just throwing a jab a bit lighter, and it's perhaps a lot of the time not even landing because you can't get in close and things like that. Lucas fights at a high tempo, probably higher than that of Lopez, higher than most fighters to be honest, and it means a lot of the time she can control that pace because fighters are just not really that willing to try and disrupt the pace of that of Lukas because they're just trying to deal with what she is coming forwards with. Um, she controls the pace well, like I mentioned. She has got a good work rate. She outthrows majority of her opponents, and it's that will to win, that desire to come forwards. Obviously, she's gotten a handful of stoppages. I mean, half her fights ending in stoppage wins is a very nice stat to have, especially in women's boxing where perhaps there isn't that many stoppages compared realistically. But obviously they're not really the highest of levels. And I mean, I've watched a couple of fights, and there's one or two where opponents have just kind of quit. But nonetheless, she is outthrowing them and coming with that aggressive nature, which is, like I say, just in general too much for the opposition. She's never really throwing in singular shots. Pretty much every time she is throwing in some sort of combination with launching attacks a lot of the time, where she does just kind of, if she wants to get in range, she forces herself in range with a launching attack. That's where I mean she can impose herself physically, because you have to be able to deal with somebody kind of throwing themselves at you when you are facing somebody like Lukas. She negatives about her. She walks onto a lot of shots. I believe she can get countered and walk onto a lot of shots. Where perhaps that's where Lopez may have success. I mean, like I say, she is typically that more of a back foot type fighter who can counter nicely and might want Lukas to walk in so she can then find her range of Lopez. And I believe, like I say, Lukas does walk onto shots, does walk in, throw in arm punches a bit at a time. I mean, it's nice because you can see that aggression coming into her punches where she twists into them, but they are still arm punches a bit at times. And when she is under pressure, she will often just flail for punches in front of her because she doesn't really seem to be able to deal with being under pressure. And that's when other things like her chin being in the air kind of comes to being seen. She, like I say, has them wafting punches at times, which isn't really that clean on the eye. Of course, this is a step up in opponent. Cutting off the ring, I think, is something which she does really struggle with, and Lopez is going to circle around the ring consistently. So, is she going to be able to cut off the ring? I'm not too sure. I think she can be uncomfortable under pressure with combinations. Perhaps trying to counter, she can seem a bit uncomfortable. She can also be uncomfortable, like I say, under pressure and things like that. She just looks a little bit just like a bit lost when she is doing that. She can cross her feet over, she can be counted often, her head's on the line. I think she also either has her head on the line or she ducks her head down. She doesn't really bring her punches back a lot. A lot of the time it's just left out, and that's where you can have quite a wide guard shown from Lukas, because she isn't, like I say, bringing them punches back. It's very much just wide open. She, like I say, also stands very tall as well defensively. So she is that big target there to be hit, where Lopez might be able to have certain amounts of success doing that, because Lopez will throw in combinations, just not quite as much as that of Lukas. Speaking more about Lopez, I think she has got a solid jab. When she is able to land it and to find a bit of her range, she has got a solid jab, and she will, like I say, distribute it to the body nicely as well. She's got fast hands. She's much quicker than that of Lukas, in my opinion. And Lukas, can be a bit more flat-footed. At times she is a little bit bouncier on her toes, but I think Lopez is a lot lighter on her feet and is going to have much better defensive movement than that of Lukas. She is typically a counter puncher, Lopez, and a bit more of a defensively minded fighter, where she will throw a shot, pretty much just spring out of the way, so she can't necessarily always be able to land her counters because she is a bit too far out of range. But she is, like I say, kind of evading any sort of shot which she may be getting caught with. Is Lukas going to let her have that space to be able to bounce out of the way? We'll have to wait and see. But like I say, Lopez will try and look for big shots at times. Obviously, she has much lesser power than that of Lukas and hasn't ever really been known for it. But it's something that will add up if she is able to land the punches, the big ones, the big overhands that she is looking for. She will typically attack in flurries. Like I say, it's not a crazily high output, but she will attack in flurries when she wants to. She's got fast hands, like I say. I think she's good at sneaking in shots because of them fast hands. She can counter, and you can't really always see it coming because of just, like I say, the hand speed and things like that. And she seems like she's quite ready for a counter when necessary. She changes levels well, like I mentioned. and she's, I think, more relaxed in general than that of Lukas. I believe that possibly might come with experience, but in general, she does look a lot more comfortable in tougher positions than that of Lukas. Speak negatives about Lopez. Obviously, she invites that pressure. Lukas is definitely going to take that invitation and going to come forward. So, is she going to be able to handle Lukas just coming forwards for the entire fight? We'll have to wait and see. Perhaps she may even be past her best at this point in her career. Lopez, the back-to-back defeats and the timeout definitely could have played a toll on Lopez. She stands straight on. She sometimes, like I say, struggles finding her range. She has wide hooks as well, so you can definitely see them coming. She circles in that same direction. So if Lukas is able to cut off the ring, I believe it won't be that hard to do so. It's just if she is able to do that. She is the less physical out of the two. She lunges in because she is trying to force herself into range, but it means she's lunging in and is definitely able to be caught when she is doing that. She jumps out of range, like I say, so she's either completely in range or completely out of range. It's a bit of a mix like that. She wants to typically fight on the mid range, though. She doesn't really seem too comfortable fighting on the inside, but she perhaps is a bit more comfortable than that of Lukas. She overextends and she has that lower output. Lukas is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Lukas will win via unanimous decision. I think it's going to be a performance in which is going to be a good showing from Lukas. I think she's going to probably get hit with multiple shots from Lopez, but just really not respect that power. Like I say, I believe Lopez is somebody who's definitely able to be kept onto the ropes. It's just if you are able to see her just consistently doing the same things again, I think Lukas will just continue to come forward, let her hands go, wear her down to the body. It'll be a consistent pressure type performance in which I believe Lukas will make a bit of a name for herself onto this super flyweight division, which, to be fair, is doing pretty well at the moment. And yeah, with Lukas perhaps coming in and creating a bit of a name for herself, she could get a few more eyes on her, perhaps get a big fight after this. And I mean, if I'm looking at opponents and perhaps listing opponents, somebody like a Dolan could be a great option. I mean, Dolan was ordered to fight Silver for the EVU title, but it seems like she just couldn't get that opportunity because she doesn't have a promoter and things like that. She doesn't have that name, but I'm sure she'd be willing to go over to Thailand if necessary and fight somebody like a Lukas for her belt, for her IBO belt. I think that could be a great contest, and perhaps it wouldn't surprise me if that does end up happening. Otherwise, like I say, Robertson has fought for the belt before. She hasn't fought since, so it was a draw. Perhaps she may want to have another crack at getting the title. So that could be another fight. Obviously, Gallardo is another opponent who's also around, or Lescurat, another fighter, of course, WBA champion. Perhaps that might be a little bit too soon for Lukas, but you never know. That could be an option as well. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like it if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.